Hi everyone, welcome to Mendoza Makes. I'm Michelle Mendoza and today we're making donuts. There are two main types of donuts, yeasted donuts and cake donuts. Basically the difference is what you use for leavening in the dough. Yeasted donuts obviously use yeast. Cake donuts, more like a cake, use baking powder and baking soda for leavening. You can also make sourdough donuts that use sourdough starter as the leavening. Today I'm going to make yeasted donuts. They have more of a pillowy texture on the inside, more like a bread, and they're usually very airy and light and fluffy when they're done. So while the dough is resting for however long it takes to double in size, I'm gonna make all of the toppings and things that I wanna put on top or inside of the donut. For the glazes that go on donuts, they're made with powdered sugar because powdered sugar contains cornstarch. And the cornstarch helps it thicken and re-firm up once it's on the donut and helps it set into kind of a shell a little bit. Basic glaze is just powdered sugar and milk that you whip together, and then you can add whatever liquid flavoring that you want. Finding the right ratio of powdered sugar to milk, it can be kind of tricky, and measuring accurately is really important because starches absorb liquid. So if you don't have the right ratio, it can be like a lumpy texture and it won't be smooth all the way, or you won't have enough liquid and then you won't be able to drizzle it on whatever you're putting it on. This is something that when you first put it together, it doesn't look like it's gonna come together and it kind of is difficult, but just keep stirring and it'll eventually come together. There you go. For the chocolate espresso one, I am gonna do the exact same, just milk and powdered sugar, but I'm going to add some melted espresso chips. Whatever flavoring you add, try to make it in liquid form because it'll help the glaze stay together and help it stay like a consistency that's going to re-firm up when it's done or when it's on the donut. Oh, look at how good that looks. Oh, it looks so tasty. Basically, this is all about consistency. Like, you want it to be a drizzleable thing, and right now, like, that's way too tough of a texture. So add more liquid if that's the case, and just keep like working on it in teeny tiny little increments, and then stir it up all the way and see how it is, and then add more if you need to. Like, this is already dripping. And I added less than half of a teaspoon. So do it in small increments. I think that's good. Drippage. Ooh. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, that's good. Now I'm going to attempt to make something I have never made before. If you follow me on Instagram, for Easter, I posted a picture of the strawberry tart that I had made, and inside the tart is French pastry cream. So I think what I'm going to try doing, or my idea, is I have these strawberries left over from that, and I think what I'm gonna try to do is make the pastry cream but add these strawberries. I think maybe the best way to do that is to macerate them, which is just a fancy way of saying mush them up. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try to mash these up, add them to the pastry cream, and see what happens. The timer went off that the dough is done rising, so now I need to shape them, and then they have a second rise that they need to go through. So I'm gonna pause on the strawberries for now and get this started first, since I can finish the strawberry cream while this is doing its second rise. Before cutting them, you can use biscuit cutters, but I don't have biscuit cutters. So what I'm gonna do is use a pint glass and a shot glass to make the middle hole. I just picked these because of the top. Fits pretty well in here. So I'm gonna use the pint glass to cut out the donut, and then I'm gonna use the shot glass to cut out the hole in the middle. Bloop. Like that. There you go. With this dough, if I bunch it back up and roll it back out, it makes it too tough. So I'm going to try to get like as much out of it in this roll as I can. You know, I was watching Brad and Claire make donuts on It's Alive, and Brad said that he bakes this leftover dough because it's basically bread. It's just sweet bread. I think I might do that. I think I might bake it and see what happens. For the strawberry cream situation, I'm going to make the cream like I do normally and then add the strawberries for the flavor at the end. Whoop, spilling it everywhere. And then this is gonna go into my pot to start heating up. While I'm doing this, I'm going to be careful about watching my milk and making sure that it's not simmering or boiling. You just want it warm, not like too hot. Because what we're gonna do is add the warm milk to the eggs. When you do that, you run the risk of curdling the eggs, or like basically scrambling them right away when you add the milk if it's too hot. Going to add it back to the heat. I think this is the point where I'm also going to add the strawberries. Let's just do it and see. It should start thickening with the heat. When it does start to thicken, it thickens so fast, like bam, thick. So you have to be very careful. And The thing that thickens it is the cornstarch, but also the added egg yolk, because the protein in the egg will firm up. I'm just hoping that I didn't throw off the balance of things with the extra liquid from the strawberries. Although it smells like strawberry. Oh, it smells like strawberry ice cream. Wow, it smells really good. Ooh, yeah, okay. I can feel it with my whisk. Like there's resistance when I go to stir through it. So I'm gonna take it off now. I'm gonna put it in the fridge. It has to cool all the way. So I think being in the fridge will help it re-firm up all the way. But it's pretty, like, it's kind of like the consistency of yogurt already. Like, see that? It's not liquid anymore. So that's good. I'm going to take a piece of plastic wrap, push it down on top of it so that it doesn't form a skin. Okay, I believe the donuts are done rising. What you can do to test to see if they're ready to go in the oil is the poke test. And what you do is just poke the donuts, poke the dough with your finger, and it should spring back a little bit, but still leave an indentation of your finger in the dough. And if it does, it's ready to go in the oil. The other thing that you can watch for is if you get your oil up to heat and you put the dough in and it just sinks to the bottom and doesn't float, it's not risen enough. You can use canola oil or vegetable oil to fry your donuts in at home. That's what I'm gonna use. I'm gonna use canola oil, but palm oil is actually really good for frying donuts and probably one of the best options because its natural state is semi-solid. So when you fry your donuts, it's gonna create like this kind of protective shell around the donut so that whatever topping you put on doesn't really get absorbed by the donut and make it soggy after it's been fried. Because the problem with donuts is actually moisture control. So what happens when you put them in the oil is the heat of the oil causes the moisture to evaporate and it's replaced with whatever oil you use. So if you're using a low quality oil, the flavor and the texture of that is going to seep into your donut. So making sure that you get your oil all the way up to temperature before you put any donut in there is really important, because if you have to leave it in the oil longer for like to cook all the way because your oil wasn't hot enough to begin with, the longer it spends in the oil, the more soggy it's gonna be when it's done. This is also why fresh donuts are the best tasting and the best texture, because the longer they sit with toppings like chocolate and the classic glaze and any kind of liquid-ish like topping, the longer that they're sitting with that topping on them or that glaze or whatever it is, the more it's going to seep into the donut itself and make it more and more soggy. I also have my donut dough loaf of bread. I don't know. I'm going to just put it in my bread pan and stick it in the oven at 350 for, I think I'll check on it after maybe like 10 minutes and just see what happens. You never know until you try. It might be really good. I'm gonna do the donut holes first, because if the oil's not hot enough, I'd rather find out on a donut hole rather than an entire donut. So I kind of use them as my tester. When they come out of the oil, I'm gonna put them in, roll them in powdered sugar or the cinnamon sugar. I'm gonna test one. Here we go. It floats, so that's good. If you put it in and it sinks in the oil to the bottom, that means it's too heavy. There's not enough gas in the dough and it hasn't risen enough, so you need to let it rise more before you fry. So I'm gonna flip it, and it's a little golden brown little man. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna throw a couple more of these in there. Get them fried. Be careful when you put them in the oil. Always drop them in away from you so that you don't get splashed with 375-degree oil. This first one I can take out. Look at little donut hole. He can be cinnamon sugar. They don't take very long to fry up. And like I said, be careful not to leave them in the oil for very long because they're gonna absorb all that oil. Is donut making baking or cooking? Let me know what you think. I kind of think baking because it's because of the dough. Just because of the way that you, well, but you're cooking it. I don't know. Ooh, when you flip them, they should stay in there after they're flipped no longer than a minute. They look really awesome, so I'm excited to try them. They're really light, they weigh like nothing, which makes me think that they're going to be very light and airy on the inside, which is perfect. Oh, I almost forgot about the strawberry. So let's see if I can, I think it worked. Oh my gosh, I think it worked. It's working! Okay, it looks promising. Okay, I'm gonna just leave it at that. Okay, this has to be the first one that I try then. Let us try. That is a light and fluffy donut. Wow, that is very decadent. You can see the crumb structure on the inside is super light and fluffy. It's airy and it springs back when I squeeze the dough. And there's no, if the oil had really seeped into the dough when it was in the fryer, if you leave it a long time, what happens is you get this like inner ring on the inside. You can do the squeeze test. If it oozes oil, it absorbs too much oil. This is a good donut. The strawberry cream. I am so pleased with that strawberry cream. I just made that up right now. And it's fantastic. It's so subtle. It's not like overly crazy sweet, but it adds like a little bit of hint of strawberry flavor in there, which like I'm fine with it not being overly sweet because I just coated this in the glaze, which is powdered sugar basically. So it's sweet enough. It doesn't need like a super sweet inside. I'm gonna try a cinnamon one. Cinnamon donut hole. It tastes like a churro. That's good. I don't know that I'd consider donuts a breakfast, like a meal for breakfast. I think they're more of a treat or a dessert, not a meal. And the reason I don't think they're a meal is because the nutritional content is pretty much nothing. It's just sugar. So your body's gonna burn it up super fast and then you're gonna be hungry like 20 minutes later. But they are a very good treat and a dessert. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are donuts a meal for breakfast or a treat or a snack food? I'm gonna go make some coffee to go with these donuts. If you like this video or you learned something, give it a like. If you'd like to learn more, subscribe to my channel. I upload every Friday. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. I forgot about the bread. It's very brown, very dark brown. I put it in the oven at 350 for 10 minutes. And then when I checked on it, it was still like really, really raw. So I left it for another 20, and that seems to have been too long, or the temperature was too high, but 350 seems pretty low. So I think it's probably I just left it too long. I got distracted because I was also frying at the same time. But even though he's very dark brown on the top, he's really light and fluffy, it seems like. And like when I squeeze, it's like, it's very fluffy. So I think I'm gonna cut into it and try it because I'm curious. This is how you find stuff out. You just do it and then see what happens. Hey! Look at that. That's not bad. That's like super pillowy. Look at that. I'm gonna try. Yeah, the texture's great. It's really fluffy. The super dark outside actually doesn't taste burnt. It is a tougher crust in that part. It just tastes like sweet bread. Well, there you have it. Donut bread. You never know until you try. So there you go.